is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by the National Rifle Association on the Patriot Mobile Platinum microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Talker's Top 100 radio broadcast coming to you right now. It's all brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Patriot Mobile microphone here at the Patriot Mobile Ranch is lit up, ready to rock and roll. Greg in Dallas, Texas. We're on Facebook Live right now for everybody. Well, we should be in a second. I guess I need to make a move on that on this end. We'll get you live on Facebook here in just a second. There you go. It'll pop up in just a second. Live on Facebook, facebook.com/armedamericanradio. And, Greg, I'll let you tell everybody else where to go and all that cool, fun stuff. And then we're cracking with Paul Markel, student of the gun.
Yeah, sure. If you want to watch the show, you can also head over to YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over on X, we are at AAR Mark. Let me adjust my volume a little bit. There we go. And you can also watch us over on armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon and select your watch live or listen live option. If you want to join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Greg, you should adjust your volume a little bit. Did you get that?
I had to, man. My headphones were a little off there. I was like, let me do this real quick.
I just glanced over at mine. Mine are coming in kind of hot, too. Let me adjust my volume, too. Hey, how about that? We're just volume adjusters today.
Mine were low, and I got to have a certain level.
If you got to adjust yours, I got to adjust mine. It just sounds cool to talk about it. Hey, Roger, that Tango 6, how am I coming in? You got a copy over.
Bravo 6 going dark.
Tango 6 over. We'll say over after everything today, Roger.
Roger that, over.
All right, Greg, thanks, over. Let's go over to Paul Markel, student of the gun, over. Paul, welcome to the program today, over.
What's up, Iffy?
I don't know, over. You tell me, over.
Oh, man, I can tell you that it's a glorious sunny day up here in the mountains. We got about 15 minutes of rain yesterday, so that was a blessing.
Yeah, let's talk about fun stuff. It's a Friday. I sent you a picture of this the other day because you know me very well, Paul. I'm a purist, okay? Bourbon comes from Kentucky in my book. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Okay.
All right, bourbon comes from Kentucky. It just does. All right, you know, I've had the Texas bourbon, I leave that for friends. You know, if I'm out and want some and that's there, I'll go buy more and I'll leave that there for friends because bourbon just doesn't come from Texas. I'm sorry, guys. But somebody gave me a bottle of Wyoming bourbon whiskey last week on the 4th of July, my brother-in-law. And I said, okay, I'll give it a whirl, and I did, and it was really good. If you had put that up against anything and told me that was a new, a new brand or something coming out of the Buffalo Trace Distillery, I'd have flat out believed it. It was really good. So congratulations. I guess apparently Wyoming makes a pretty good bourbon whiskey. It was good.
They do, and I've actually given that as gifts. You know, when I've traveled, come down out of the mountains, and I'll take that as a gift for my bourbon-loving friends.
All right. Well, I'll call you back with my address after the show. We can take care of it then. But it was really good. So I just want to say that because you're up there in the beautiful mountains in the hills of Wyoming. And, well, apparently the limestone aquifers and the pristine water make a pretty good bourbon up there. So I had to hand it to you. Congrats on the Wyoming whiskey. It was really good. There's the shout out for Wyoming whiskey. If you find it on your shelves, ladies and gentlemen, and you're a bourbon drinker, you like a bourbon from time to time like I do, enjoy it. Have at it. You will not be disappointed. I don't say that lightly when it comes to bourbon because I am the purist, man. This comes from Kentucky, man, and it does for the most part. Anyway, Paul, it's a Friday, and I'm feeling kind of froggy today. I've dealt with a lot of really stupid people today. I'm not going to name any names, but I've dealt with a lot of morons today. You and I had a similar conversation about some of those morons today, too. And I know you deal with some of the same morons, and it's just enough to drive you crazy. But we can't name names, ladies and gentlemen, so we're not going to because it really doesn't matter. That's a personal thing. But anyway, should I back off that subject, or should we go? No, let's hold off on that.
No, man. I tell you what, it's funny because we'll get. I'll say things on our radio show. I'll make inferences. It's funny how when people it's what is it? What is the psychological effect of when you think people are talking about you and they're not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've had people. I had somebody this last week. It's like, hey, were you talking about me on the radio? And I was like, no, actually, I wasn't. And he's like, oh, I thought you were talking about me.
So okay. So he heard you talking and thought it was about him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said something about somebody, doing something, and I obviously didn't name names. And then I got a back channel. He's like, "Were you talking about me?" I was like, "No, actually, I wasn't talking about you at all."
That is, by the way, whoever you are, if you're listening to this show, that is an outright admission of guilt.
Yeah.
He likely was. Okay, that's kind of self-aggrandizing and narcissistic, but anyway.
My friend James used to say, it's like if someone does you wrong, he goes, we don't speak their name in public because it gives it them power. And sometimes I'll have to make a reference to someone who's done something that is egregious or wrong, or basically made themselves into a bad example, and I'll say refer to them as a phallus in possession of ears, and people are like, if you know, then you know.
Yeah. I just.
Do you like Greg? Did you appreciate that? You're welcome.
I'm chomping at the bit over here, man. I'm just chomping at the bit. It's a Friday. What can I tell you? Angry Mark.
We all know someone who fits the description of a phallus in possession of ears.
Yep.
So
Angry Mark was out of the box.
The shoe fits.
Yeah, well, hey, I gave you a big solid about your Wyoming whiskey stuff today. So there's a lot of goofy stuff going on out there today. I don't know if you've seen the reports, but apparently Bongino and Bondi are at each other's throats. And this Epstein file deal, so many Americans are pissed about this.
Let's go ahead and even doesn't matter what side. Well, I say it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, but that's not true, because what we know is that the other side of the aisle, they have brains they're malnourished, and so therefore they don't function properly. So you can't really talk to them. But the idea that we're playing this game, and we keep playing it, Mark. I mean, holy crap! How long have we been playing this, you and I? It's the game that the Washington D.C. insiders play, called "Just How Stupid Are the American People?"
Bingo.
That's the game they play, and they push the boundaries all the time.
Yeah, well,
Just
they're pushing
how stupid are the American people.
Here's one thing I will say for certain. Okay, but there's rumors that Bongino is talking about resigning, and apparently he took the day off today and hasn't been seen in the office in 3 days. Here's the deal. If the Democrats had anything on Trump, if there was an Epstein list, anything that had anything to do with Trump on it that could have buried him, the Democrats would have pulled it out during the campaign. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, that is something that my hardcore, never Trump friends are like, see, I knew it. And I'm like, hold on.
Yeah, you don't think they would have pulled that out during the campaign when they were controlling the DOJ and were in possession of the files? Come on.
Right. For 4 years, they were terrified that he would run again. And so they impeached him. Then when he was out of office, and they brought up charges against him, they had the New York State lawmakers change the law in New York specifically so they could prosecute Donald Trump. They spent, let's face it, they spent millions of dollars to try and get hit, convict him. Then when they couldn't convict him, they tried to kill him twice that we know of. And then, so they went through, you're telling me that they had the smoking gun, they had the proof, they had the evidence that whole time, and they decided, we're not going to use that. We won't use that. We'll do all this other stuff. We'll try and convict him, and we'll change laws. And then when that doesn't work, when he's ahead in the polls, we'll try and murder him. And when that doesn't work, and when the murdering him thing didn't work, they tried twice to assassinate him. When that didn't work, they still didn't pull out the big gun.
30.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, that would have been pulled out. They didn't sit on that, ladies and gentlemen, and say, "Well, let's wait until he gets elected and then pull it out." No, 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 no. It didn't. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. If there was a connection, it would absolutely have come out. You can rest on your laurels on that one. There's no doubt about it. Paul, we're getting ready to take our first break. When we come back, there's a number of things I want to talk with you about. But did you catch the? Maybe you can do it during the break if you didn't get it, because we're moving in real time here, ladies and gentlemen, live. Paul, I sent you an article written by Masad Ayub today, and it was texted to you. If you haven't had a chance to look at that, maybe you can look that over in the break. I'd like to go over some of that with you because it's really, really fun to talk about.
Funny.
And we will cover whatever we can today for you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Friday. We take it a little bit easy. Getting ready to grill a steak after the show today. I hope you're looking for something fun to do on your weekend as well. We'll be back with Paul Markel, student of the gun, right after this to round out a Friday for you. following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show. Oh, welcome back to the show indeed, ladies and gentlemen. And look, I'm man enough to man up. And, Paul, one of those stupid people I was talking about today just embarrassed me and made me realize that, nope, I was the one that was wrong. And you know what? I admit it. Yes, I was talking. Sometimes that happens, and when it happens, well, there you go. Welcome back, guys. NRA bringing this to you every single day here at Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, and Sunday on the Monster Cast for you. Make sure to visit nra.org/AAR. The range bags are going like crazy. We've only got 700 plus allotted. We're way below that now, ladies and gentlemen. $35 to join or rejoin the National Rifle Association gets you a range bag. It's not a contest. Sign up, rejoin, join. 1 to 3 years, you get the range bag. If you join up for the 5-year or the life membership, you get the 10x42 binoculars, and they're super high quality with the case, the cover, everything. So do it. Take advantage of it while it's out there. And then when they're all gone, and if we can get more allocated, depending on how fast they continue to fly off the shelves, if we can, we'll let you know. Keep it going. And one of you, out of all of you, is going to get a second range bag. One of you, here's the contest, is going to get a range bag loaded with all kinds of Armed American Radio sponsor swag, including a bunch of really cool AAR stuff, okay? Books, shirts, pullovers, sweatshirts, glasses, coolie cups, ammo, food, 12 of them, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure to join the National Rifle Association and take advantage of that. All the stuff that we talk about here on the program today, the NRA is helping us with as we move forward, not backwards. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, they're coming after us like crazy, particularly behind the blue wall. Make sure to get involved. We need you to help step on the gas. NRA is the team to do it with. NRA.org/AAR and help us out. We really, truly need your help here, okay? It's very, very important. Paul Markel, student of the gun, welcome back, my brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, so
yes, I did read the article during the break.
Guys, here's what it's titled. When a lawyer says, I don't care if you get arrested. So, Paul, let's go here. I'm going to kind of paraphrase. Let me walk through this with what Mossad had to say. And ladies and gentlemen, if you know anything about Mossad Ayub is without a doubt the number one firearms expert as far as I'm concerned when it comes to expert witnesses, etc. And if you know Mossad Ayub, you know that's down pat imitation of Mossad. We love him. Known him for many, many years. He says in this article, I frequently hear attorneys say, I don't care if my client gets arrested. I care that my client doesn't get convicted and sentenced to a long term in prison. Easy for them to say. They're not the ones sitting behind bars, perhaps with some of the most dangerous individuals in the community. They're not the ones whose kids are going to be taunted by their schoolmates who read in the paper that daddy or mommy was arrested for murder after defending themselves. They're not the ones who will be interviewing for their dream job and be asked, have you ever been arrested, and have to answer in the affirmative. He also saw a commenter write, I don't care if I have to spend a couple of days in jail. And Mossad kind of went off. You know, Mossad, I know I can hear him writing this, right? What on earth made him think it would only be a couple of days? If you've shot an assailant, the typical never talk to the police advice, if you've hewed to that typical never talk to the police advice, does anyone seriously think the cops are going to say, oh, okay, go home now and maybe the prosecutor can call your attorney later for an interview? No, you're going to be arrested and presumption of guilt will take over from presumption of innocence. It will be a while before you get a bond hearing. Bond in a homicide case often runs $1 million or more. And guess what? Some judges in some jurisdictions simply aren't giving bail at all under such circumstances. Good heavens. And he goes on to talk about a guy who rotted in jail for 7 years without ever seeing a trial. And he starts talking about...
dude.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That right there is, like, that violates the Constitution. That violates the Bill of Rights. That's crazy.
Unless there's been some waiver or something. I don't know.
And that's the right to a speedy trial.
Yeah.
And to the right to face your accusers, the right to trial by jury. They have all of those things that were guaranteed. But Moss also, he pointed out, he said that was in Cook County.
Yeah,
one of the most corrupt counties in the whole country. If not, I would say, would you say that if there was a contest, a corruption contest, that Cook is easily top 3, if not number 1. They might be angry if I don't give them the...
Harris County, Houston's got to run for that.
San Francisco.
Well, since you
Okay,
asked that
for sure.
question, let's go there for a second because Greg just jumped in. Greg, I don't know if your mic was live, but bring it live. What
wasn't.
did you just say? It was live? Say that
No,
again.
it wasn't.
It was not. Say it
Harris
again.
County. Harris County, Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
Houston. There you go. So you got Harris County, Houston. You got Cook County, Illinois. I definitely say that whichever county San Francisco's in, that's got to be in the top 5.
I mean, you could easily put New York City in there. You could easily put L.A. in there as well. As far as Houston goes, now I think if you look at, in my mind is scanning all the big blue Democrat-run cities right now as we go through this. I see the map in my mind and all the towns that we talk about. Philadelphia would be in there. Atlanta, Fulton County is clearly Fulton County's in the top 3. But I think you're right. I think Cook County would have to be number 1, not only because just over the years. I mean, you got to go back. Democrats been running that city
history.
You go back. It's a century that they've been so corrupt.
I mean, they've got it down to. They've got their corruption down to a science.
Yeah. So Mossad asked that question, not rhetorically or facetiously. He's legitimately asking that question. Would you want to go through that in Cook County? Now, there's a lot of great comments to this, ladies and gentlemen, and I do want to tie this to attorneys on retainer. That's not why we're doing this, but it just fits here because take a listen to what we're hearing here. If you don't have an attorney, this is critical stuff. I don't care if I have to spend a couple days in jail. Now, they go, no, let me read some of the comments. That's what made me think about AAR here. Great advice, and don't forget the attitude test. All right, the cops are going to be less sympathetic. Amazing, I know, but police are human beings and don't like being given attitude or lectured at. If you got anything better to do, you should be after real criminals, on and on and on. And the second one was, and this is where we get to the attorney deal. The little card I made up after I got my first carry permit sits behind my current permit and says, number 1, I was attacked. That's the person who attacked me. Number 2, there is the evidence and there are the witnesses. Number 3, I will file a criminal complaint after I've talked with my attorney. Until then, I will not be answering any questions. Number 4, I do not consent to a search of my person or property. The last one is pointless since they're going to search anyway, but it establishes that it was without consent. Here's a question. As a person with extremely limited police contact, the only parking ticket I ever got was when they installed a parking meter while my car was at least initially legally parked. The hearing officer sighed and voided it. How do I find a good criminal attorney for a potential self-defense issue like being arrested for murder after defending my life? I don't want to be in that position. And when I read that comment, I thought, well, there's the cheap, here we go. Guys, if you don't need to be asking yourself these questions, but the mere fact that Mossad Ayub even writes about this stuff, and he writes about it eloquently and frequently, these are things you need to be considering, particularly, as you pointed out, Paul, if you are behind that blue wall in one of these, because any Democrat-run city is going to be corrupt. It's just a matter of where they're going to fall on the list, right? All right, we're getting ready to take a break. Hang in there, Paul. The time is going to fly right by today, ladies and gentlemen. It always does. Buckle in, I promise you. We'll get to as much of it as we can, as we always try to every day. But buckle in. We've got 2 more segments with great Paul Markel at Student of the Gun. You can find him on Twitter at Student of the Gun. If you want to find him online, SOTGU.com, SOTGU.com. And that is Student of the Gun University. We'll be back with Paul Markel. We have 2 more segments. We'll dig into this because it's quite a fascinating conversation. Should you even mention those things that commenter just said? We'll be right back. Following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, we need your help there, folks. We really do. nra.org/AAR. Please do that. Visit them. Also, we were just talking about, we're going to continue the conversation about the things you should say. It was a great article from Assad. I'm glad he brought it up because you can always count on Assad for great content. And I didn't have an opportunity to reach out to him today. I would have loved to have brought him on. Paul and I have known Mossad for many, many years. He's a dear friend. It would be fun to talk with him about this. So maybe we can reach out to him and see if we can get him on the show over the next few weeks. But in that same breath, guys, attorneys on retainer, make sure to check them out. It's only $35 a month. And this is something you don't have to worry about. So as we talk about this, keep that in the back of your mind. When I saw some of the comments on here, it brought that up. Paul Markel, student of the gun. Welcome back, brother. You know, you were a cop, and I know Mossad was and still retains his active duty. And I know where Mossad is coming from here because he says essentially if you're one of these that adhere to the I'm not going to say anything at all, right? Because I know Moss, and he'll tell you. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I've talked to a number of attorneys, including Mark Victor, who will tell you don't say anything you say is going to be used against you. Anything at all. You have a right to an attorney. Tell them that you want to work with them, that you want to talk to an attorney first. What's your opinion on this as former law enforcement?
Yeah, the truth is it's a delicate dance because, you know, the police that are arriving don't know what you know.
Correct.
People always assume they're like in their brain, they're like, why is this guy harassing me? You know, it's like, here's what they did. They got a call, you know, whether it's at your home or whether it's in a Walmart parking lot or whether it's wherever, they get a call. The dispatch gets the call, and the dispatch sends it to them. Man with gun, shots fired. That's what they know.
Right.
They don't get the call. Homeowner justifiably defending home. You know, for all they know, they're like, "Well, it's my house. Of course it is." They don't know if it's a domestic. They don't know if the guy you just shot is your wife's ex-husband or what. You know, they have no idea. When they get there, and I tell people this, like, this is what they need to know: who's going to jail, who's going to the hospital, who's going to the right. That's what they've got to sort out.
Right.
And well, the first thing is, do we need to shoot anybody? Right. You know. And then after they get there and they're like, okay, we don't need to shoot anybody. Who's going to jail? Who's going to the hospital? Who's going to the morgue? And that's what they have to know in that moment. They don't need to know where you bought the gun, when you bought the gun, what your favorite breakfast cereal is. You know, they don't need to know all that stuff. But they do need to know who's going to jail, if anybody, who's going to the hospital, and who's going to the morgue, right? So you can help them with that, for instance, you know, and, you know, people say, well, never talk to the cops. Well, how did the cops get there? Well, we called 911. Okay, well, what did you tell 911? You got to tell 911 something. You can't just call 911 and say, send the police to my house. And because they're gonna kind of ask, like, and why? You know, and see, that's something that a lot of people skip over. They skip over the how the cops got their part. They're like, well, you just had a self-defense shooting and then boom, police arrived like a genie out of a bottle, right? They got there based on some kind of information, right? And how did they get that information? And, you know, going back to, I believe it's the book of Proverbs, the first man to plead his case is thought, you know, the truth teller or something like that. Moss always says the first man to the phone is the victim.
That's the way it's going to be looked at. And let me point out, too, two things. Number one, you mentioned delicate dance. I'll get to that in just a second. But once you make that 911 call, the 911 call is public record. You've already said things.
It's evidence.
It's evidence. The 911 call is going to be brought up in court. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen this all over the place. You go online, you can hear the 911 call. They make it public. So you got to be really careful. All those things they tell you not to say, that's what you're saying when you call 911. So you got to be really, really careful there. And our good friend Alan Corwin made that, you know, very clear over the years. Should you even make that call? Well, you have to make that call. Because If the perp
yeah.
gets away, okay, and calls 911 and says some crazy lunatic just shot me, guess what? They're going to be viewed as the victim in this situation, and you're going to have to defend against that. Now, that's why it's great to have an attorney behind you while there's an investigation, because you're not entitled to an attorney paid for by the state, okay, during an investigation. So that's something you want to keep in mind. No doubt about that. That's where that comes in. But here's the delicate dance, the way I view this. It's not the cops you got to worry about. It's the prosecutor you got to worry about. Now, imagine, Paul, if you live in Cook County. A whole big different deal with a prosecutor in Cook County than there is going to be in, I don't know, pick a red county in Alabama or Florida or Georgia or Wyoming. A whole different ballgame.
Look at New York City.
New York City. That stuff's made in New York City.
There could be 30 witnesses that said that you were defending people from an out-of-control lunatic.
And they charge you.
And they'll charge yeah, they'll charge you. That's where you get your. That's where I get my picante sauce. But they'll charge you with murder because it's convenient. Because they, the peasants aren't allowed to take the law into their own hands. The peasants have to just die quietly, and if the police feel like protecting them, they will. Then they won't. And that's how it works in New York. And if you're standing on the street and you get shot by a New York cop who's shooting at somebody else, their feeling is you shouldn't have been standing on the street.
Yeah.
And I know there might be somebody in the audience like, come on, Paul. Dude.
Paul, I had a guy a number of years ago when I was broadcasting the show, and I go back a number of years when I was broadcasting from the AM 920 studios in Buckhead area of Atlanta, Georgia, every week. And I had a guy that I wanted to bring on the show for over a year, who was on a first date, was walking back to the car after dinner with his date in a parking lot. When he opened the door for his date, she got in the car. He walked back around the car. As he was getting in, somebody approached him with a firearm and tried to rob both of them. He pulled his own firearm, fired, shot, and killed the guy. Guy lay dead in the parking lot with a firearm right next to him. He made a call to 911. The investigation into that case lasted a year. And we talked every week for 12 months. I couldn't bring him on the air under advice of his attorney, and I didn't need advice from his attorney. I wasn't going to bring him on anyway. I don't want him saying something on the radio that's going to get himself in some trouble. But before I could finally bring him on, and I did bring him onto the show, he came to the studio with me, and if I'm not mistaken, Mossad was in the studio with me that day, going back 10-plus years. But this guy was under investigation for murder for over 12 months. Good heavens. This is not a game, ladies and gentlemen. Now, he wasn't charged, but he was under investigation. You got that hanging over your head, Paul. That's a very heavy weight and burden to carry around with you for 12 months. Imagine the stress that you would be under, Paul Markel, student of the gun.
Yes, sir. The words out of your mouth. He tried to kill me. I stopped him. I'm not feeling good. I need an ambulance.
Yeah, it seems pretty obvious. We go through these hypotheticals in our minds all the time as people who carry firearms to defend themselves. It seems pretty obvious. The dead perp is laying there with a firearm next to your vehicle. It's a pretty clear-cut case to you, but not to a prosecutor in Fulton County, Georgia. It might not be. Guess what's going to come into play? Race is going to come into play in a place like Fulton County, guys. It just is. That's a fact.
30.
Don't think that wouldn't come into play in New York City. It absolutely would. They'll never say that, but it will. And they'll make charging decisions based on some garbage like this. So, wow, it's pretty scary stuff. Paul, we've got one more break coming up. When we come back from the break, we're going to continue with Paul Markel, student of the gun. A reminder, SOTGU.com, SOTGU.com, and we'll ask Paul about that when we come back and see what other ground we can cover. We were talking about corrupt Chicago. Maybe we'll give the murder statistics for the past weekend over Chicago. It just never stops, ladies and gentlemen. It just is an ongoing problem, and they just don't seem to care. But that's okay, because the mayor of Chicago said he will never allow his police department to ever cooperate with the federal government. There's always that. Maybe that's why there's a murder problem in Chicago. We'll be right back.
So,
Mics and cameras are up.
all right.
Grilled Mexican street corn, steak, some fresh vegetables. Yeah. And you know what? I think a cold beer. This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back. That's a smart thing, ladies and gentlemen, to do. I highly recommend you do that if you haven't already. If this conversation doesn't make that point, and honestly, it wasn't meant to. It wasn't until I saw that comment in there. Good heavens. And everything that we're talking about today, there is help out there before you even need it. Don't find yourself in a terrible position and then say, oh my God, I should have listened to that stupid radio host. He was right. Guys, in this case, we are dead on my cousin Vinny blank accurate in this assessment. So please find yourself that protection. It's so inexpensive to do. Believe me, you will sleep better at night. Just like when you have Heaven's Harvest emergency food supplies like I do, you sleep better. Good Lord, take advantage of some of these awesome partners that we have. That's why they're out there, ladies and gentlemen. They're the best of the best. Before I get back to Paul, I want to point out a press release was just released yesterday from the Second Amendment Foundation, and I'm honored. The title was great. Speakers announced for GRPC 2025. That's the Gun Rights Policy Conference. MC is Talkers Magazine Heavy 100 honoree, so I'm proud of that. And here are some of the speakers, guys, that have this is in addition to who's already going. But Sarah Weaver, author and Ruby Ridge siege survivor. Sarah Weaver from Ruby Ridge. That Weaver. Think Randy Weaver. Sarah Weaver. Wow. Masad Ayub. Who are we talking about today? Masad Ayub. Jared Yanis. You know Jared Yanis from Guns and Gadgets, the YouTube channel. Huge following, about 700,000 over there and growing. Austin Knudsen. You've heard him on the show. Montana's Attorney General. Kenyon Gleason, he was there last year, president of the NASGW, National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers. AWR Hawkins, you hear him here every week, award-winning Second Amendment columnist for Breitbart News. Andrew Bailey, been on the show, Missouri's Attorney General, great guy. Ava Flanell, been on the show, host of the Ava Flanell Show and founder of Elite Firearms and Training. Joseph Greenlee, he's the director of the Office of Litigation Counsel, where else? None other than the National Rifle Association. Cam Edwards, editor of BearingArms.com and the host of Cam & Company podcast. Chris Beck, General Counsel and Chief Legal Officer at Silencer Shop. Will Bergstrom, attorney with the firm Cooper & Kirk. Cooper & Kirk is doing all of these cases with the Second Amendment Foundation. These people are gold. Robin Sandoval, president and CEO and owner of A Girl and a Gun. Owen Miller, vice president, American Suppressor Association. And Bill Sack, director of legal operations, Second Amendment Foundation, and many, many, many more. And I'm proud and honored for the umpteenth year to be emceeing this fantastic event being held Salt Lake City at the Marriott downtown, September 26th, 27th, and 28th. So make your plans. It's free to attend. Great room rates there set up by the Second Amendment Foundation and the Citizens Committee. Take advantage of it. I just cut some radio spots for them today that began running all over radio stations and will be through September in Salt Lake City. So make it a point if you can do that. Just check out saf.org/GRPC and make your plans. Hope to see you there. Would love to shake your paw. Paul Markel, student of the gun. Welcome back, my brother. Serious topics today, man. Serious topics.
Yeah. You guys planned that the same weekend that we're teaching a seminar in Kentucky.
Well, that
Good
was
job.
intentional. Alan Gottlieb called me and he said, when is Paul going to be teaching in September? And when I told him, he said, okay, that's the weekend we'll make it.
I figured something like that.
You know I'm kidding. Yeah, I get to MC the event again on Saturday and then catch that red eye back because I will never miss a Sunday radio show. So it makes for a long weekend, but it is worth every single minute to be able to shake paws with so many great people that come out to see exactly what's happening. And guys, the GRPC is what sets the tone for the upcoming fight for the next year. And all of these speakers are involved. And as you just heard the list, it's an important list. So if you can make it, please make some arrangements. Take a look at those dates on your calendar, September 26th, 27th, and 28th. And it's always fun to shake paws with the great Alan Gottlieb, founder of the Second Amendment Foundation. If you ever listen to the show at any time, Alan is the man, the single most important individual in this gun rights movement. And I say that not lightly. He is the real deal. And he is the nicest guy in the world, and he loves to meet everybody that comes out there. Yeah, Paul, we're going to miss you there this year, and I know you know Salt Lake well, so it's too bad we can't see you there. But you've got
yes, I do.
So you're going to be doing what? You're going to be training in Kentucky, old Kentucky?
Yeah, we're actually, we got asked to participate. There's a an event. It's called the Combat Arms Summit, and it's going to be held at a place called Taprack Ridge in Gray, Kentucky. If you know your geography there. But it's going to be essentially a full weekend, Saturday and Sunday, kind of a buffet style of seminars and breakout sessions. So you buy yourself a ticket, and then you get to decide which of the seminars and which of the breakout sessions you want to participate in. And we are going to be there doing our little show for the weekend.
Nice.
So we're going to Kentucky, and then the very next weekend we're going to be in Texas for 4 days worth of pistol training, our martial application of the pistol standard class, and then we're doing an advanced class because we've got a bunch of graduates now that are looking for a little bit more in a place. It's basically just outside of Nacogdoches, Texas.
Okay.
So if you know where Nacogdoches, Texas is, on the eastern side there, that's where we're going to be the first weekend of October. So.
Yeah, sadly, I went up and grabbed a cup of coffee today from my coffee girls up the road. Hadn't been up there in a while. Make my own anymore, but when I went up, it dawned on me that, in about 8 weeks, they're going to start putting Halloween stuff up. Ladies and gentlemen, time
Dude, they're already doing
flies.
back to school sale.
Yeah.
Like the day after 4th of July, they're like, yeah, get ready for back to school. I'm like, calm down.
Just kids in my area go back to school on August 2nd. And that's just, 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks? It is Psychoville, man. We used to go back.
Psychoville.
Memorial Day, Labor Day was the schedule I was on.
We went Labor Day. Yeah, it was the week, like right after Labor Day is when we went back.
Hey, Paul,
Go
ahead. Wrap that up.
No, I just can't fathom wanting to pay the extra money to air condition these schools for the entire month of August. It's got to be astronomical.
Oh, yeah. And, in Florida, people they go back in September. People forget in Florida, September's the hottest month of the year. Same thing here in Georgia in the Deep South. Paul, let's quickly, I would cover a couple blue cities I was mentioning before the last break. But Philadelphia had 46 people injured, 6 killed July 4th weekend. Chicago was over 55 shot. We were talking about, corrupt cities at the outset of the program today. What is it about these cities, Paul? Again, and we ask this question ad nauseum, but we have to because it continues to happen. I've lost count of the tens of thousands of murders I have covered in 17 years on these.
Well, Chicago is violent because the people in Indiana have too much gun freedom.
And Wisconsin. Let's not forget Wisconsin.
Yeah,
that's why they have the problem.
There's too much gun freedom.
Yeah, well, they don't have those problems in Indiana and Wisconsin, but they do in Chicago. So there's that.
Oh no! It's like New York. They're like, well, if people in Virginia didn't have all that freedom, New York would be safe. Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, New York blames my state. They blame Florida and Georgia.
Oh yeah,
for their violence.
Yeah, whatever. It's everybody's fault. The truth is, you kind of feel, it's hard to feel sympathy or empathy or whichever for people in New York and Chicago because this isn't new. It's not shocking.
Yeah, wait till they elect a commie, Paul.
It just happened yesterday.
Wait till they elect a commie. Hey, we got to cut out because we're going to
start
our weekend
in New York,
and so are you. Yeah, you're right, Paul. This is good advice too. When you're a trainer, you'll appreciate this, ladies and gentlemen. My son asked me this morning, Dad, can we go to the range today? I dropped what I was doing and took him to the range today. Guys, when your kids are asking you to go to the range, don't put them off. Take them to the range.
You go to the range.
You go to the range with your
Amen.
kids. All right? That's just great advice. And if you want to get some great training, SOTGU.com. You can start training online with Paul, too, by the way. Hey, Paul Markel, you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being here, brother. Your voice is very important on this program. Man, I love it. Thank you for making the show what it is and what it is becoming. Guys, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Love each and every one of you. In case nobody's told you that today, I love you, and you can't do nothing about it. See you on the radio Sunday.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in today. It's a Friday, Greg's favorite day of the week. And I have to admit, I love Mondays. Don't get me wrong. I'm kind of like Andy Hoosier in that, but Fridays are good too, okay? Particularly when you only have one day off. So here's the deal. Carry on, carry off, and carry absolutely everywhere. Never, ever, ever leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would have ever been caught outside his cave without his club. No, not going to happen. So enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. We'll see you on the radio on Sunday's Monstercast. Have a great weekend, guys. Stay safe. See you on the radio.